Well, hi. Today is Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. I'm Todd Studer, and this is Morning Coffee. Thank you so much for joining me this morning or this afternoon or this evening or whenever it is that you are watching it. I am just about done with my Christmas shopping. I have a little bit left to do, and I actually have a couple of shops in Council Bluffs that I haven't visited yet. I'm trying to get everywhere that I can find that is a local shop that sells retail, and just do my best to be able to support the local economy and also be able to support my neighbors. These are the folks that are out there working hard, just trying to make a living. And Christmas is a very important time of year, as you're aware, when it comes to just what kind of profit are you going to be able to show at the end of the year. So not just shop local, also shop in person. And you still have a few days to be able to do that. One weekend left of Christmas shopping. So please get on out in person and meet some of the shop owners and some of the managers. And I think that it's a good way to you can start developing new relationships, and you're going to find a level of customer service that you won't find when it's just a brown box left at your front door. Also, another place that's local, that's a great place to stop in and have dinner, is the Mile Away in Council Bluffs. It's located on Old Lincoln Highway, north of town, and they have a comedy show coming up this Friday. And there's going to be comedians there upstairs, so you can get your tickets online right now at themileaway.com. Just go and purchase your tickets in advance. They're $8 in advance, $10 at the door. And also make plans to have dinner while you're there. Doors open at 7 for the comedy show, and things get started at 8 o'clock. It's good to see that comedy coming to Council Bluffs at some of the different venues. And the Mile Away, you can now add to that list that's doing that. Also, we want to say thank you to GT Motors of Council Bluffs for being a sponsor of Morning Coffee. You have seen them. They've got the big giant Christmas tree that's all lit up at night out there on the 20th block of Broadway. And also, if you're looking for a good quality used car, make sure that you put GT Motors on your list to stop in. You can get financing right there on the spot. So a lot of options for you. They've got some really great cars, something that's going to fit into every budget. So GT Motors in Council Bluffs on the 20th block on Broadway. Well, joining us on the show today is Carol Horner. She is back to talk a little bit more about her book, Spiral of Accountability, and some of the different things that this can do to be able to help your business. But you know what? It can do more than just help your business. It can also help you with your own personal life as well. And during this conversation, I'm going to tell you a story about how it did just that. Author, entrepreneur, business developer, and just all-around great person, Carol Horner, joining us on Morning Coffee. Are you all ready for Christmas, Carol? Have you gotten everything put together now?
Yeah. So my family, which is spread out just a touch, not hugely, but enough that when we came together for Thanksgiving, we just knocked them both out.
Wow.
So I have dinner with my niece and her family and my mom on Christmas Eve, and I have lunch with my mom at Heritage at her place on Christmas Day, and then the 26th I leave with my best friend to go to Cozumel. So
oh my,
so that yeah.
You're gonna get out of the let's be honest, we haven't had bitterly cold yet this year, so
No,
it hasn't been.
I'm tired of it already.
But it hasn't been horrible. But I'm finding that the older I get, the less I like anything to do with winters in the Midwest. So that's just my get off my lawn attitude.
And speaking of older, my other holiday this time of year is my birthday.
Right, that's true.
On Thursday, I will turn 60.
Well, I remember very well the last birthday with a 0, which for me was a 50. And I let myself go down this hole about it. And then by the next day, I was fine. But still, it's a milestone number, but also if we can either feel good about it or feel bad about it. So we might as well feel good about it, right?
Oh, I agree. And I learned the year I turned 40, Jimmy Buffett put out a song called Trip Around the Sun. And in that, he sings about the souvenirs we collect on this trip, right? It's this journey, and we collect these souvenirs. And these are the things that meant something to us. And so that's the stuff I hold on to, and I have to discover what my gratitudes for the year and the experiences I had that just helped shape me, and holding on to those things. And then you let the rest of the shit go. Just you don't have to. I don't have room for that. And then on the decade year, you look back at the decade, right? So in the year of my 50s, what was significant, what was important, what was it that has just shaped me going forward into my 60s? And there's lots of stuff there, right? I got a boatload healthier when I lost, 50 pounds, and I, published a book. I made a model. I created a model and I published a book, and so there's a lot of really amazing things that have happened in this past decade. And so that's the stuff I want to be able to wrap my head around and journal about a little bit and take with me. And the rest of it, I'll just leave.
The last time you and I spoke, we talked about with your spiral of accountability that a lot of that has to do with just what direction are you facing, and are you facing the same direction as your coworkers or other people involved in the same company? What you're talking about right now is the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's what are you looking at? What are you choosing to look at? And if people are longtime viewers of this show, they know already that I repeat myself. But one of the things that I like to talk about is that both things exist, both positive and negative. If you choose to look at the negative about turning 60, those things are just as real, mm-hmm. but they don't necessarily need to be paid attention to, because whether or not you're paying attention to them doesn't have any bearing on whether they exist or not. So if you focus on the positive, and such as with your spiral of accountability or with a milestone birthday or whatever, then that's just making the best of a situation. And I don't think that that's a bad thing at all.
No, what you look for, you find. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's the same thing. When I look for the good in people, I find it. When I look for the bad in people, I find it. And so I might as well look for the good. The bad's not going to help me. And, a lot in the work that I do is helping people get a mindset that puts them in the best place to bring forth the behaviors to get to the outcomes they're looking for, right? A lot of times we know how to do something. We don't know why we should. And I remember once, that I tell this story every now and again in one of my classes, is that, I was doing a proposal for a large organization in Omaha, and I'm sitting and presenting at a table, and it's full of vice presidents and the president, and I'm pitching this communication program. And when I'm done with my pitch, the CEO sits back in his chair, the president sits back in his chair, and he says, "Carol, I don't believe I'm about to pay you to teach my people to be nice to each other." And I told him, I said, "You're not paying me to teach them how to be nice to each other. You're paying me to teach them why they should be nice to each other." Because that's a whole different thing, right? What it gets us, right? And so much of it, the reason why we struggle with people isn't even about niceness. It's really about the assumptions we make about their motivations. And the problem is that as a human being, I'm not capable of having all the information on anything, let alone somebody. And I didn't see everything and hear everything, and so I can't possibly know everything. I don't live the world and navigate the world in their body. I do in mine. And so I can't fathom, just me and you, Todd, right? We probably have a whole lot in common, but you navigate the world as a man. I navigate it as a woman. I can't see your perspective. And any assumption I make about your behavior and your intent is coming from my perspective, not yours. And so I can be off base. I can be wrong. And so if I don't open myself to consider, right, that you have a perspective I'm not grasping, and you have a reason for why you're doing what you do, and maybe I should take the responsibility and just ask, "Hey, Todd, tell me about this." Right? And open up the dialogue and the conversation about it, rather than having it cemented in my head. This is how you are. Because then what do I go look for? Confirmation bias. I go look for you to do those things that prove that, yeah, I was right.
Yeah, there's so many different examples in my own life that zero exactly on what it is that you're talking about. It was several years ago that, just doing that doom scrolling on my phone and just going from one little short video to the next. And I ran across one that talked about how when we're trying to control a situation, or we're trying to, and our times trying to control an outcome, we also can fall into a trap of trying to control the behavior of others.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have the power to do that. I don't have the ability to change anyone except me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only one that I have the ability to change. And that, when I saw whatever silly little video that somebody put out, it was life-changing for me.
Mm-hmm.
That it didn't matter what else was happening around it. What really matters is my reaction to it.
Yeah.
And that it's more of a stoicism principle. I mean, there's a lot of different areas that have adopted that kind of philosophy. But for me, it was, as I mentioned, it was life-changing, and it shifted my entire philosophy about how I approach people.
Yeah, I use a personality assessment called DISC, Everything DISC, with a lot of teams because it helps improve their understanding of themselves, their impact on others, and then understanding others and their impact on them. And I talk about, where I might be able to stretch my behavior and behave in an analytical way, behave in, very focused on details and dig in. It's going to burn a lot of my energy, but I'm capable of doing that work. I can't think like a C though, because my brain doesn't do that, right? Just like they can't think like an ID. So I do a lot. I get a lot of help from my niece Shelby. And Shelby's a C and I'm an ID. So we're at opposite ends of this spectrum of personality. And, and just working to understand each other. How do we best take advantage of what it is that the other brings to the table? But I have to realize I don't think like her, and she cannot think like me. So for me to not understand why she's not getting something is ridiculous. I have to be able to explain it. I have to be able to help her see, and she has to help me see, right? And what she had to help me see was that I can ask her to help me. I don't have to play my role as the elder and the business owner, right? I don't need to play that role as the leader. I need her to help me. She has skills and things that's capable of helping me, and she knows that better than I do. And so saying, hey, here's what I'm working on. How can you help me? Just changing how we operate together rather than trying to figure out how do I dictate to her what I need her to do when I have no earthly clue. But she does, right? All I got to do is start talking about what I'm working on, and she'll say, how about if I do this or this or this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be awesome. So, I think it always comes down to getting outside of ourselves, right? If everything is about me and inside me and all my thinking is as it pertains to me versus how can I look outside of me, get bigger than me, have a conversation with someone and get them engaged in that and really create understanding versus I got to make my point. I got to make my point. I got to make my point.
Yeah,
this took some growth on my part, by the way.
Oh, and I think also that even realizing that is not going to solve the problem. I'm thinking about, and this is kind of a stretch for me, but just yesterday, I had something happened out on the road, and the gentleman that was driving to the right of me, his lane was ending, and I didn't see that his lane was ending because I was all wrapped up in my own stuff and I'm just trying to drive and get where I'm going. And he had nowhere to go and decided that he was going to speed up and come over, but didn't really have the room to do it. So just at the last second, I realized what was going on, slammed on my brakes. Had I not done that, there would have been a wreck.
Yeah.
And I'm only seeing this from my vantage point. So now I'm instantly angry.
Yep.
And thinking that, well, this guy wasn't looking for what was going on over here, and he nearly caused a huge problem for both of us. Well, I wasn't looking for what he was dealing with either.
Yeah.
So, we were both just kind of in our own zone at that point. And what you're talking about with, we're seeing things through our own lenses and through our own eyes. And sometimes we just need to stop and say, okay, let's just take a second and see if we can't figure out. We're both trying to get to the same goal, which was to get where we were going safely. In that particular instance, is just, we were both just wrapped up in ourselves, and it nearly caused a big problem. So that was, as you were mentioning that just brought all that back up to me. I'm not mad anymore, by the way. So.
Oh yeah, good. Because it doesn't help.
No, and he had Woodbury County plate, so he's probably off to Sioux City, and that was the end of it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's I'll toss in a little bit of content here. So there are 3 filters inside of our head. There are a bunch of filters, but 3 of the filters inside of our head is really about how we listen to someone else. And that first filter is, how much do we agree or disagree? And so if I'm processing how much do I agree with you or disagree with you on something, on what you're saying, but also how you feel about it, right? Something's a big deal to you. And I'm like, really? How's that such a big deal, right? I'm in me. I'm not hearing you and understanding, why was this a big deal to Todd? It doesn't matter if it's a big deal to me. It's a big deal to Todd. I gotta find out what's behind that, right? And we either agree or disagree with people, or agree or disagree with how they feel about something. And the second filter is the yeah, but. Holy cow, we say that. And I tell leaders all the time, get those words out of your mouth, man. There's an appropriate time to use the word but, and it's rare, because it negates everything you just said when you put in the word. Hey, Todd, that's a great idea, but Todd's idea is gone. And what's the chances you're going to offer me another idea? Slim and none, because I'm shooting you down, right? But I may have something in my head that says this is a problem. And if instead I say, hey, Todd, I like that idea, and at the same time, I'm really concerned about this, that, or the other thing, well, you may have already thought that through, right? We didn't, So the yeah, but filter, we got to just, the only time you use the word but is when you say, hey, this didn't go well, but.
So shifting from a negative to a positive then.
Yeah.
That's
the only time you use the word but.
That makes sense.
And the third one, this is the one that gets us into all kinds of trouble because we make stuff up in our head. It's called the addition filter.
Mm-hmm.
And, I tell this story of my, when I built my house in the South End. And I showed up every day because I'm a curious sort. And I am my father's daughter, so I want to know how everything's put together. And I had never built a house. And so this was just a ton of fun. So I showed up every day to learn. And I came in one day, and they hadn't noticed me yet. And there was a big, bad argument going on between the electrician and the drywall guy. So the electrician was there wiring. The drywall guy was measuring for the next day when they came to hang drywall. And they're in my small little bathroom. In that little bathroom, because it's the South End of Council Bluffs, and you can't have a basement there because the water table sits too high.
Right.
Is my safety room, my tornado safety room, right? So it's footed and it's got studs that are 12 inches apart instead of 16. It's just a lot more stuff in this tiny little room with all kinds of wiring. So the electrician is arguing that there are all these wires that he has put in here, and this drywall guy has to screw in drywall. Don't hit my wires. And the drywall guy is screaming at there's all these wires that you've put in here, and I've got to put screws into these studs, and I don't want to be hitting your wires. And they're fighting. And I'm like, you're saying the same thing. So I pull them aside and I said, hey, gentlemen, pretty sure you're arguing about the same thing. We got wires, we got screws, we got studs. It's going to be a tight mess. So why are you fighting? And they just kind of harumphed and went to their corners. And I thought, what is that about? I mean, and what it came down to, I talked to the general contractor in the kitchen. I said, what was that? And he goes, Kelly, you don't understand. Electricians and drywall guys are not allowed to get along. And I'm like, who the heck made that up? But the addition filter is we fill in details. But the other part of the addition filter is I can't hear you if you sit in an other, right? Think Congress.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how good the idea is. If it's coming from the other side, it can't count.
Yeah.
And it has to be argued against, even though it makes no sense to argue that. You know, we do that. We make stuff up that I can't deal with this person. And I set it up that I can't. I have that excuse. I can't deal with them, therefore I never will. And that's just destructive. It keeps us from being effective together. And it's all because we made stuff up in our head.
Is it a competition thing that's going on? Is it more of a, I don't want, if somebody is giving me more work than I think that I should have versus what they're doing, then it's a personal thing. What is the root cause of all of this?
Well, we put problems inside the relationship, right? The problem, rather than being a problem that, we're kind of working on here, we put it right dab in the middle of the relationship. So if you have an idea and I'm struggling with trying to understand this idea, or I'm not bought into this idea, and I say, hey, Todd, I don't know that I like this idea. I'm not saying, hey, Todd, I don't like you. I'm saying, hey, Todd, I don't like the idea. It's the idea that's the problem, not you, not me, not us. We don't have a problem. We've got a thing to work on here. And what you're suggesting, I'm not sold on. Keep selling. Keep trying to convince me. Tell me more. Address my concerns. Let's have a debate, or it's okay. But disagreement has made us disagreeable, right? It has us fighting each other instead of going, you have a different perspective than mine. And we can come, like, I tell you, I love Matt Walsh. He and I have been friends for a long, long time. And he
By the
and
way,
I
for anybody outside of Council Bluffs, that's the mayor of Council Bluffs.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
And he's also like 6'5" and has 150 pounds on me, and because I'm all of 5'1", right? You can't tell on the screen, but I'm not very big, and we will get into knockdown dragouts, just and raise our voice and swear and just and argue about a point. Never once do we belittle the other person or belittle what they feel. We just argue the point. And then when we get to the end, it's either he's changed my position or I've changed his, or we've agreed, hey, I see your perspective. I hear you.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that you actually have a conversation and change someone's mind?
Sometimes. And he's changed mine. He's changed mine because he had information I didn't have.
Right.
And I've changed his, but a lot of times it's like, yeah, no, we don't agree. But then it's over and we go have a beer.
It's another joke I made for a long time that, something like online and you look at either the comments section or something on social media, a comment that I've never seen is, wow, I never looked at it that way. You're right.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. Not ever.
But what Matt and I are arguing doesn't have to do with our relationship. It has to do with the problem outside of our relationship. We're just looking at it different perspectives. And we can do it in a heated way and still care for one another, right? Not everybody can do that, right? Yeah. I have other friends, no way am I raising my voice because I will shut them down. I just have to be aware of that. I can still argue with them. I can still disagree. I just can't do it loud and pounding like I can with Matt.
That's what
I'm gonna have to tell him I told this story before he hears it.
Well, I saw him at the Dodge House Christmas party for the Chamber of Commerce, and I told him that I wanted to get him on the show, so that this might be my in to be able to do that. But it's a very optimistic thing to be able to hear that people with opposing views don't have to end up hating each other. And we have, as a society, whether it has to do with, regardless of what the topic is, we've kind of devolved into that it's just constant head to head. And it's if we are making the issue much bigger than it actually is. Yeah.
We're generating commiserators, right?
Right.
Because we want to get people on our side. We've got this, there's one of my favorite books, and it's an old one. It's called Dialogue, The Art of Thinking Together by William Isaacs. And in there he says, dialogue is a conversation with a center, not sides. I offer to the center. I don't present my side. right? And so how do I offer to the center, you offer to the center, others offer to the center. And chances are what we grow out of that middle is better than anything that we had. And I do an activity that just proves that. I have everybody solve a problem individually, and we document the answers. They get with somebody that had a different answer, and they work through getting the same answer, and then eventually we get to a single answer at the end with everybody agreeing, yeah, this is the answer that we're going with. This is our answer. Rarely is it one that they started with. No one had the answer in the beginning.
You're zeroing in on why it is that I enjoy talking to you so much, because you have a way of boiling off all of the extra garbage that isn't necessary and getting right down to the root of what's going on. And that's what I love also about, I'm looking at your spiral of accountability here, and you can see that right in the background, and it's dead on. And it's an easy way to be able to see if I'm facing the right direction. Because initially, as if with the car problem yesterday where we were both going for the same lane, initially I was making excuses how it wasn't my fault, and then I instantly went into blaming him. And I was on my way to the grocery store, so before I got there I had already realized, okay, this is what I'm doing. But right at that moment, no, I was pretty mad. Mm-hmm. And had we had the ability to communicate directly with each other, I probably would have said some things that would have been difficult to take back.
Yeah.
But end result, everything was fine. Mm-hmm. Nobody got in a wreck. I had to move my right foot from the accelerator over to the brake and press for about maybe 1 second. That's what happened. And I was just all upset about that. But, looking at that, it's easy to see, okay, I was not looking in the wrong direction. But also I think that giving ourselves permission to, okay, we can step into that puddle briefly, but don't stand there forever. It's okay. It's human nature. We're going to do that. But then, all right, let's get back out of it and find a solution.
Well, and part of it becomes, even a wake-up call at that second, right? Like, hey, I do need to pay a little bit more attention to what I'm doing here. Mm-hmm. And what was it that's so heavy on my brain, right? That maybe I need to schedule myself a little time. Maybe I need to make sure I set some time aside to think about that, because, our most productive time is spent thinking, not doing. It's spent thinking. And, but sometimes we need to find and make space for that. And I say a lot of this stuff, and I will promise you, this is hard. I catch myself all the time. I am, the idea of take a breath, Carol, take a breath. Before you react, take a breath. That's hard. I'm a fast-paced person. But it's not serving me. And when I do take the breath, I perform much better. I have greater influence over people, which is what I'm looking to do anyway. It just makes more sense. My relationships are better. People like me more. I love that, because I have a high need to be liked. And, and so let's do the thing that helps that. And it's take a breath. Take the moment.
I don't hide the fact that, I go to therapy, and something that my therapist told me, was it last year or the year before? He was talking about whether I'm in my emotional mind or my logical mind, or intelligent mind, I think is how he put it. And I have found that, being in an emotional mindset is not necessarily a bad thing. Just don't make decisions while you're there.
Yeah. And realize that, I think I've talked about this book before, Emotional Agility by Dr. Susan David. She talks about emotions are signposts. They're information. It's data, right? And if we can understand that data, what it's telling us, we are not that emotion. We are experiencing it. But why are we experiencing it? Why am I angry? Why am I frustrated by this? Why is this making me sad right now? Why am I just elated about this? What is this about this? And understanding that emotion and why it's there for you is really the information that you need, because that will get you your better response, right? You'll make a better response when you know why you feel something, right? A lot of times, I've been known to exaggerate situations because I'm reacting emotionally, and somehow I don't feel like I should be justified in that emotion. Like it's upsetting me more than what I think other people think I should be upset, but I'm still upset.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll catch myself. I'll say something happened 6 times when it only happened 3, right? I'm not saying 1,000,000 times because that's ridiculous, but I'll exaggerate a little bit to try to justify why I'm feeling what I feel. But when I sit there and go, this is really upsetting to me. I realize, this has only happened twice now, but it's really upsetting to me. And I just need to tell you that I'm really upset by that. I get a much better response than when I exaggerate. And I'm calmer for some reason when I'm telling the truth than when I'm exaggerating.
Spiral of Accountability is the name of the book. And, we're running out of time to still get it in for Christmas, but it would make a great Christmas gift. I'm just saying. And it would wrap up real nice, and I bet many stockings it would slide into. So
it's not a very big book. It's kind of a small book, so it kind of.
I have a copy of it around here. I don't have it on my desk right now, but I have a copy of your book around here somewhere.
I thought I did too, but maybe I don't. No.
I always enjoy talking with you, Carol.
You too.
And I think sometimes that, I need to pay you some money for the therapy session because you just gave me some great information. But it's been a wonderful chance to get to talk with you again. And I'm looking forward to continuing to learn more as we go through this, because we're just kind of grabbing little snippets here and there. Yeah. And it's not, it's about the entire picture. And you just kind of grow and you learn as it goes along. And because my guess also is that, with that spiral of accountability, chances are you're not jumping from I consider it to I build collaboration just instantly. There's steps in a process to go through.
And you flow back and forth a little bit too. So.
Well, go to spiralofaccountability.com. You can also go to synchronicity.com, and you can find all the information on those websites. Carol Horner, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have just a wonderful... Are you taking the week off between Christmas and New Year's, like everybody else seems to be? Well, you said you were on your way to Cozumel. So
yeah, going to Cozumel between Christmas and New Year's, yes.
That'll be a great way to be able to unplug and think of us poor folks back here in the cold.
Well, a little time underwater doesn't hurt either. That is definitely my most spiritual space, is to be underwater.
Yeah, mine is hiking through very tall trees.
Yeah,
but it's the same kind of concept. I mean, we're both in nature, and it's just a little bit of a different delivery method. But we'll talk to you again real soon. Thank you.
Take care.
Something that I do here with Les Hills Media and Podcast, as it's right there in the name of the business, is we do produce podcasts. So if you've ever thought about having one, give me a call. I have a conversation that's going to be coming up tomorrow with some folks that are thinking about it. I don't charge for those. If you want to learn how to do a podcast, I'll tell you how everything works. And you can step out on your own if that's what you would like to do. So reach out to me, toddstuder@gmail.com. I'd love to talk to you about your idea for a podcast. We obviously have a pretty strong focus on business podcasts. However, if it's just a personal podcast that you would like to be able to do, I can give you the formula about how everything goes down with that. And just like we were talking with Carol Horner, it's not always about immediate success. Sometimes you just got to put the work in. And I said it on yesterday's show, and I'll say it again. If you're going to be launching something like this, you got to be willing to suck for a while, because there's a good chance that how it starts is not how it's going to end up. This show is still evolving and it's still becoming what it can be. And I'll just keep grinding away, and we'll just keep chipping away some of the loose edges and zeroing in more on what it can be. I was talking with Carol about this too, that what I'm finding that this show is becoming is a way to take some overall business ideas that work in large business and then narrow them down, and how can they work in a smaller business setting. It's kind of what my strength is with having such a long career in small market radio that, and we've talked with other people too, that, small market radio and large market, two entirely different beasts. I don't know that the larger corporations or even some of the smaller corporations understand that, which is why, small market radio is been on the decline. To be honest with you, it's the standalone places that are still doing pretty well, that focus on a local community, which is what we do here at Les Hills Media and Podcast. We're a Council Bluffs community that focuses on Council Bluffs, Potawatomi County, and Southwest Iowa. Outside of that, if you're watching outside of that area and you can glean some substance from this that is a benefit to you, wonderful. I'm glad that it does. However, that is going to be our focus and will continue to be our focus. So I'm glad to have you with me, and also glad to have the sponsors that we have, and that includes AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning and Waldstein Plumbing. Travis, Hayden, and the rest of the team there, they are the ones that I keep telling you, when integrity matters, these are the guys that you want to call. They're going to follow through, and they're going to do what they say they will do. And there often is some great deals to be had if you are in the market for a furnace, for an air conditioner, anything involved with HVAC, or if you've got some plumbing needs as well. You're going to want to get a hold of them. You can see the websites that scroll up here at airservecouncilbluffs.com and waldsteinplumbing.com. So get a hold of them and have them come out and take a look at what issues you may have and how they can help you. We're going to have Travis back on the show again very soon, I'm sure. Most of the time we talk college football, but still, it's Travis is a good buddy of mine, and I'm very happy anytime that he can jump on the show. Well, that's going to wrap things up for today. Thank you so much for being a part of things, and looking forward to a great week. We have more guests that will be coming up throughout this week, so keep coming back every day and find out more about what's happening in the Council Bluffs and the surrounding area. My name is Todd Studer. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.